in the same year that King of Kings came out, 1961, the second version of King of Kings, they also made Barabbas, which is related because it is about the criminal, we don't know much about him, that was judged by Pontius Pilate as well, at the same time as Jesus was. For Passover festivities, there was this particular trade that that Pilate could make and say, okay, I will let one of the convicted people go. And then the story was that they all called for Barabbas because he was popular. And so then, yeah, this person was let go. So the question was, who was Barabbas? And how did he fare after that? Because I thought I was going to watch this movie. I thought I'm going to see like little Barabbas grows up and becomes, a rebel leader, because in King of Kings he was one of the rebel leaders that was going to be maybe also a messiah, but there were all these false messiahs going on. And he was one of the factions that was involved. And in King of Kings, the 61 version, you had Judas coming up to Barabbas and saying, okay, can we just be allies and we will together fight? And then, of course, Judas couldn't deliver on Jesus fighting because Jesus said, like, no. So I had that conceptualization of Barabbas in mind when I was going to watch this movie, and it's Anthony Quinn. I'm going, well, that's kick-ass, so surely. But no, this is a different Barabbas. It is based on a book by Pär Lagerkvist, which is a Swedish writer, and it reminded me of the Désirée film and the book that was written by an Austrian writer who put the lens on Napoleon by viewing it from the perspective of this woman that is in his social circle. And I think that's actually super clever. That's much more interesting. I think if the King of Kings film 1961 was done that way, would have been really interesting. Like Judas's perspective or Peter's perspective or somebody. That Mary Magdalene's perspective. Hey, I mean, that would be super awesome. Can somebody make that? And this film, this Barabbas film, and I didn't read the book, but the film was from definitely perspective of Barabbas. But it starts at the moment that Pontius Pilate gives the option of who is going to be freed here. We have these two people who have been convicted. Who do you want? And they're all going Barabbas. So he gets just literally thrown out of the jail just as Jesus is being pushed back in. And we do get to see the rest of the journey that Jesus goes on the rest of the day, because Barabbas is just walking around going, what's happening? So he sees stuff, he thinks the light is shining in his eyes the wrong way. I think that's a theme in this entire film, is that he's like seeing the light, or there is no light, he's in darkness, because he gets to be in the mines for a long time, and then he gets back up, and it's like, so there's a theme in this film, and I felt that I got the sense that was intentional, but it may have been just a little on the subtle side. So they could have put a little bit more emphasis on it, because if the theme was like he came from the darkness and he's going into the light, that takes a long time, because it does take his entire lifetime before he would have converted to Christianity. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, he was early. So this would be the story of a witnessing the last day of Jesus, but also witnessing the rise of Christianity that comes later. He starts talking with the apostles, name mostly Peter, and they just say, you don't believe people can rise from the dead? We got a dude here, go talk to him. It turns out to be Lazarus. That's interesting, because it was that scene with Lazarus was more like the 2027 film with Jesus, where Lazarus is is shown as ethereal. He's already died and come back. He's not actually part of normal life anymore. He's also just sitting around in the house. He's not out there in the courtyard with all the apostles. And it's just clearly like, oh, he's back from the dead, but either made him a transcended person, or he's just plain not quite here anymore. He can't communicate with people about it. Reminded me very much of the Buffy, the episode arc of Buffy, who had been grabbed back from heaven and come back, and it's like she can't talk to people. It was like she was in heaven. Why would you be here anymore if you had gone to heaven? So that's there was some thought into that, and he's being shown a lot of stuff. He comes and talks to various people, and then he still doesn't think that life could be any better, that there's anything out of the ordinary going on here. He even kind of witnesses the resurrection. His girl, he comes back from having been in jail. We don't know what he's in jail for. It doesn't even talk about that. And then he's like, want to party with my girl. And girl Rachel, yeah, she's into Jesus. So that's not happening. But then this is an Italian movie that was also released in America by Columbia Pictures. But it is an Italian production. And as such, you see things that wouldn't quite work under the Hays Code, although in 1961 the Hays Code was starting to become problematical and they were starting to poke holes in it. It still takes almost the rest of the decade. But he says to Rachel, we're partying. She says, no, all of this stuff is going on. And then he rapes her. And there's a scene in Streetcar Named Desire where we know that he rapes... I've lost the names of all these people.
Blanche.
Blanche, yes. He rapes her. And it is off-screen, but it's the same type of off-screen as this, is that you know that this has happened. Because he grabs her in the bed, and the next thing we see is that he's very happy, and they're still both in the bed. So... yeah, that was interesting. So, and also everybody is in one bed. When he's in the bed with a woman, he's in one bed with a woman. There's no foot on the ground anywhere. So that's definitely not Hays Code. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, he clearly has sex with 2 different women. Again, that's probably not Hays Code. And one of the things that's very interesting that what they did is to do when the crucifixion is happening, they filmed it during a total solar eclipse in Italy. Now that's dedication. And they make a really good spectacle of it. It's beautiful. The entire thing is filmed. I'm sure it was filmed before, but to put it in part of like this major motion picture is super cool.
I think there are some historical or apocryphal historical references to a solar eclipse at the crucifixion. So I think that's pretty correct.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of it, but when I read that this is what they were doing, I read that before I saw the film, and it's like, that's super cool, because it's pretty much the first thing that they said, and filmed during a solar eclipse. I mean, it's super cool. They must have done quite a bit of effort to time it. Also, you would have to have enough cameras. Of course, the rest of it, when they're in the houses and things become dark, that's just soundstage. You can do that. That's not a problem. But the actual cross, Jesus on the cross, and seeing the solar eclipse is beautifully timed and is very well done. So, love that. That's great.
Between King of Kings, the 61 version and the 27 version, and this film, how would you rank these?
Oh my goodness. Well, of course, the King of Kings films are telling Jesus' story from a perspective, and as I talked about them both in my review, is they are doing it in completely different ways. and Jesus Christ Superstar yet again a different way. So I would say that that's a different type of storytelling. This is a story of the early Christians. So you're talking like Quo Vadis, the robe. It was actually said in one of the reviews I watched online, especially of the book, is that there are no films and books about witnessing the except for Ben-Hur. But it's not true. You have the robe, you have Quo Vadis, and these are very highly priced novels. Quo Vadis is actually quite old. I believe it's out of copyright. You can easily make as many films of that if you want. This one is a small book, so a short novel by Pär Lagerkvist. It is also called Barabbas, and it won the writer won the Nobel Prize for it quite soon after. So there was no question that this was not going to become a film. It's just who's going to do it. And so the De Laurentiis production got the rights somehow. And the nice thing about this is that it's now being filmed in Italy. So you get the Italian vistas. A lot of it is set in Rome because he gets taken to Rome. Here I go with the stars again. He gets taken to Rome quite quickly. I want to say not that quickly. Actually, it takes 20 years. But there's a whole section in the mines. And one of the reasons I think that in a novel like this, a short novel like this, you want him to spend time in the mines is because they actually need to move the story forward to a generation later, when Christianity is starting to become a thing. Because on the day dot, you had some people that it wasn't enough for him to actually do an early Christian storytelling with. So that's, I think, the difference between the King of Kings films and the Jesus Christ Superstar and this film is that it's a different category of film. As a film itself, it's very good. There is no moment that you're bored. It's go from the start. It's a huge cast. Also, again, we're doing the Apostles. And I've said this before, doing the Apostles is actually difficult, and Jesus Christ Superstar shows you that you can only really have a couple of apostles actually say something, and you have one major dude, whichever you choose, and they have to speak for all of them, because it's just too much. There's too many of them. 12 guys. It's too many. And that's not even counting Mary and Mary. So you got a lot to deal with there. And then Barabbas has his own group of people that he goes back to because he's like, oh, I am actually, I'm out. So here's my crowd. I'm going to run with my crowd. And in this one, he is a criminal, fairly normal, straightforward criminal with a gang. So think more Wild West criminal with a gang. And that gets posses behind him of Romans. All of this happens in the film, so it's for 1961 pretty on point because it's the height of the Western era, and the Italian films loved the Westerns, so all of this fits quite well into each other. But you don't get the feeling like, oh, we're watching a Western. That is not so much. But there's a huge amount of in the mines as well, and in Italy when he finally makes it to Italy, it's all really, really dry countryside. So it's easy to see that in Cinecittà they were filming Westerns because it's effectively a similar environment. If you just take the camera away from your Roman things, and in this case we're going towards the Roman things. Oh my goodness, the pillars. The pillars were huge. The hugest pillars in the known universe. What I also liked was that the Italian actors were speaking English. They weren't dubbed with American voices, they were just speaking English. And you had Rachel was Silvana Mangano, and she was speaking good English. We've seen her before. She was in Ulysses, she was Penelope. And in there she was dubbed, and that was crying shame, because it is so much more richness to seeing somebody. The lips are correct, the sound is good. Yes, she has an accent, but they were speaking Hebrew, and the Romans were speaking Latin. So does it matter?
I think Ulysses is like three years earlier, so she may not have, her English may not have been good enough.
Yeah, and it was now.
I know that Sophia Loren wanted to be in Quo Vadis, but she was turned down because her English was not good enough. And then she went, "Oh, that's never gonna happen to me again." And she learned English. And then less than 10 years later, she was in lead in one of these movies.
Nice. Well, Silvana Mangano would have been speaking to her and saying, "Okay, what do I need to be part of the De Laurentiis films? You have to speak English." And that's the part of an actor's job, is what's the thing that will get you the jobs. And as an actor, I think that's where you should put your training is, okay, do I need to know sword fighting? Do I need to speak English? Do I need to be able to pronounce Latin to be in witches movies or whatever? I think that's a challenge and a really, really cool part of such a job. So Silvana as Rachel, she does an extremely good job, and she has the biggest female role in this film. And she gets to do preaching. Of course, and it's really cool. It's really cool. She goes and she commands the attention of people. She starts talking, and how that works, and people just sit, and as you do with somebody who is a really good storyteller, that works beautifully. And then she's also the one to effectively lecture Barabbas and saying, "Yeah, this is happening. You have your blinders on. This is happening. If you choose not to see it, that's your business." And then Barabbas gets to the point where he's just trying to just act out. They do give him a background because, okay, so he acts out, he does a stupid, and the Romans capture him. I'm like, oh, that's very plotty, because he really didn't need to be that stupid at that particular moment, but let's just call it he was a little off his game. So he comes before Pilate again, and then, or it was a different one, I'm not sure if it was Pilate, but he comes for the Roman officer, and he says, "Yeah, but you've been given your life back through one of these things, and that means we cannot put you to death." So he goes nuts with, like, "You can't kill me. I am unkillable." And this guy just goes through these major mind Fs from one part of the movie to another part of the movie, and then he ends up in the mines, because they're gonna throw the book at him. And he ends up in the mines for 20 years. And that's stretching my willingness to believe, my suspension of disbelief for the sake of the story. And that was my conclusion, is they need to go to the next generation. When he meets Sahak, played by the lovely Vittorio Gassman, I really want to see him in lots of other things. He's so lovely.
Big fan.
He's so adorable. I don't know if I've ever seen him in anything, but so Sahak, and he is a young Christian, and he's also in the mines, and then through whatever they make it out, then it's the two of them. So it's, yes, there's the relationship with Rachel that is never going to go anywhere, because he just wasn't going to settle down. And now he has effectively the same relationship with Sahak, who is an early Christian and needs to, well, he just is. So slowly it starts rubbing off on Barabbas. I've noticed this before, that we need like sturdy, really, really sturdy main characters. Like Ben-Hur is super sturdy. There's plenty of moments in his story that he should have been dead. And this one again is like he's so sturdy, and that's like, okay, can't we have a main character that isn't sort of like James Bondian sturdy? like just two more than normal. Like I said, in Désirée, she is just a normal person. She happens to be in that social circle, and therefore she happens to do exceptional things because she was in a position to do exceptional things, and she took it on when it was given to her that she could actually do some good things. But I don't know that Barabbas actually did many good things. I still would have liked a Barabbas story. Like, okay, so I consider this fan fiction. It's this book is not like the Bible says this, therefore we write this. No, the Bible said that there was a Barabbas. That's all we know. We barely know his first name, and people are still debating whether it was also Jesus, because probably a lot of people were called Jesus at that time. And so there's confusion about that. But that's all. There's nothing there. So whatever you make up, whether it's in the King of Kings film or it is in... And in the first King of Kings film, I believe they completely skipped it. Yeah. And so in the one from 61, they addressed it. In this one, they're just going, okay. And they are showing Jesus when it's appropriate on screen. They're just not showing the face, but they're doing a much better, because these are Italians, they're doing it differently. It looks like they were still, like, if we show Jesus's face, we will probably not be able to ship this film to America. You know, maybe let's say the other film, The King of Kings, hadn't come out yet while they were filming this. So it's like, let's be safe about this. But they showed him. They didn't do the whole shadow thing, and they didn't do the entirely from behind thing. There's just happened to be stuff obscuring his face in various scenes. And I think that's very, very well done. If they'd done it like this in films like The Big Fisherman, that would have been a lot less problematical. That would have been a way to do it. I mean, just go talk to an Italian film producer sometime and say, how would you do it? That's probably what's happening. Like, Hollywood is Hollywood, and then you've got various other factions in the world that are making their own films, and they can get really stuck in their own way of doing things. We've only seen it done this way. I guess we have to do it this way. You know, film education would be you go see everything from all the way from the far east to the far west, everything under the sun. You go see what you can possibly see to see if there's any other way to do things. Anthony Quinn was awesome, and I liked that he was playing more in a European style. So there was less, I don't want to say there's posturing in American films, but it was a more relaxed, natural way of being. He is a messy dude. The Barabbas is a very messy dude. Everything around him was very messy. So if he's running around and he's talking, he's not articulating. He's not stopping to face the camera. And I like that. And I think what we've already had, James Dean, who was one of the people who started doing that, and Marlon Brando, who were doing a little bit more of a natural way of acting, of speaking your lines, and with all of these actors that didn't have perfect diction in English, but they were speaking clearly. You didn't have to dub them, and I'm like, yes! I don't know if I already said it, but yes! That is much more comfortable than voiceovers with American accents where that's just not... Voiceovers are hard. It's underestimated. Everything's sound is so difficult. You know, I was doing a class on sound, and it's basically the takeaway is, if you can get it straight directly from real life, do it. Don't try... Well, if you only fix it in post if there's no way to get it properly. And I think filming, yes, I'm getting the thumbs up from the peanut gallery. Filming is that way, speaking is that way, music is that way. Try to get it straight up. I love this movie. I think everybody should see it. The only reason I looked for it, is because I heard there was one when I saw the 1961 King of Kings film. So it's one of those trails that I like to follow. But it would be great if more people started watching these films, because they're awesome, you know. Yeah, and it's also in that super wide, crazy, not Panavision, not CinemaScope.
And it's not just interesting to people who are interested in the Bible.
Oh no, this is a good epic action movie. It's not quite an epic because you don't get many generations within his family. It's just you're following him, but it is epic enough that you get everything. Oh, I haven't even talked about Jack Palance as Torvald, who is the big enemy in once we get to Rome, we get to the Colosseum, and we're doing the whole thing with the gladiators, because gladiators. Yeah, I mean,
Hey, if there's you've got a gladiator, you know.
yeah, I mean, how do you get from Jesus to gladiators? Well, in the rope we did. Well, Demetrius and the gladiators, excuse me. And so here we do as well. So if we can put the gladiators in, we will. It was great. I highly recommend. Watch it. It's good stuff. Even the women had good parts. Not enough women, but okay. And that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.